Hello guys, this is the second of our three-part series looking at a set of slides that we used in a workshop that we can use for our Tai Chi Foundations program. In the first video guides that you had, we were looking at base of support, frames, pillars, and the line of gravity falling through that base of support so that we're always in a balanced position. This is the first slide of three in this second block, and we used this video of a Royal Ballet rehearsal just to illustrate that although the dancers here may be making very different shapes with their limbs and body from ourselves in Tai Chi, they still adhere to the same principles, only now the base of support is incredibly small, as you can see illustrated on this image of the girl balancing on point, but everything is organized around that point: arms, legs, torso, head and neck, and the pelvis is the keystone in that structure, isn't it? So we wanted to just illustrate that. If you want to watch the video, we certainly would recommend it. It's a fascinating insight into the rehearsal process, filmed in front of an audience especially, and just shows how hard these dancers really work. But we just wanted to illustrate that the principles apply, whether it will be for dance, or it could be for sport, or for Tai Chi. Let's move on. So we often talk about posture, and we sometimes get into conversations around good posture and alignment with people. And again, as is the way sometimes in these fields, dogma begins to get rather stuck in what they think and feel is good posture. You can see an illustration here of Helen kind of purposefully breaking the rules of our original slide set, where we had those three blocks: feet, legs and pelvis, torso, head and neck, all in a nice line. Now basically Helen has shuffled those blocks out of alignment. Does that mean that she's out of balance? Well, she's actually not falling over. She's okay, she's smiling, she's happy. Is it good posture? There's a good question in itself. Posture is a socially constructed idea in many respects. Think of how many times as a child you were told to stand up straight or to sit properly, whatever that meant. But generally it didn't mean slouching, lounging, or generally changing your posture simply because you were getting stiff and tired by maintaining one fixed posture. Ideas are a bit different nowadays, and there's a useful saying which is the best posture for you is the next one that you're going to move into, i.e. we want you to keep moving. But let's look at Helen a little more here. She's actually looking like a bit of a dance pose as well, isn't she? And dance in particular tells us something about posture and balance, is that once you begin to get competent with the skills of a base of support and organising your body upon that base, just like the ballet dancers that we showed in the previous slide, you can then play with the shapes that you create. This is a big feature in traditional Chinese martial arts and theatre arts, and there's a strong overlap, and that should always be remembered, between those two sides. the strictly martial art element, but then the theatre and drama arts. And there's a real emphasis on playing with balance, playing with postures, using postures to tell a story through facial expression and through the dramatic poses that are struck, and even playing with extreme levels of posture where we get into real gymnastic type movements and tumbles and turns, but we would never really say that a gymnast is out of balance. They may, make the occasional mistake, but they've trained hard to control that dynamic balance. So what's this slide saying? It's saying, yes, in the early stages we need to adhere to keeping a good kind of sense of posture and alignment, but as you get stronger, as you become more posturally aware, then you can begin to flex and play with those ideas of posture, and that opens up a whole new area for us to explore. It brings a whole new area of creative expression that we can have with our Tai Chi practice. So again, we will always come to this piece in a workshop where we say don't get too stuck or too hung up on any one concept, because the experience certainly from my early days of learning was that's the one thing that we don't do in Tai Chi is get fixed upon something. Tai Chi is very much about flexibility, adaptability, but still following the principles of nature. And again, those principles are based on physics and biology and chemistry. Just because the ancient Chinese didn't necessarily have those concepts doesn't mean that they weren't in their own culture and language describing the same things that we would talk about in very different ways. Let's move on. So there you go, you can see that line of gravity. It still actually applies, doesn't it? All the blocks are still within that line of gravity. It's just that they're offset, but they're still there, and that's something to bear in mind. And that's another illustration. Feet, legs, pelvis, torso, head and neck can be in alignment, but they can also be in alignment even when they're misshapen or apparently out of line. So, as I said, use that as an idea. You'll notice that the base of support created by the blocks here, if you can see the cursor, is narrow, just like the ballet dancer on point. And I don't think any of us would criticise that ballet dancer for having poor posture. It's just different. She's trained so hard and is strong enough to be able to maintain that posture and use it to her advantage to express herself through dance. So I hope that is a useful exploration of posture, and hopefully it helps you free yourselves up a little bit from any ideas or constraints that you may have taken on board. You probably know from our classes and workshops that we are never sticklers for posture, because we know that sometimes if we overemphasize something, it can actually become a barrier to our development, a barrier to our enjoyment, and that's really important, that we aren't creating barriers to people's enjoyment. So we've got one more set of 3 to come, but we'll record that maybe in a day or 2, but we thought we'd just pick up where we left off, and we hope this short little video stimulates some thoughts and ideas If you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop us an email at info@discovertaichi.uk, and we look forward to seeing you in class soon. Take care everyone. Goodbye.